At exactly 4:17 in the morning, the silence near the front line was broken. One moment, it was quiet. The next, Russian tanks were on fire. Soldiers were running for cover, and entire convoys were being torn apart from above. In just 12 minutes, what was supposed to be a routine movement turned into one of the most brutal ambushes of this war. This wasn't just an attack. It was a perfectly timed, high-tech blitz that left no room for escape and no chance to fight back. Welcome to Global Defense Watch. If you want real-time breakdowns of the world's most powerful military operations, make sure to subscribe and stay ahead of the headlines. Intelligence and planning phase. This kind of operation doesn't happen by chance. What Ukraine pulled off that morning was the result of weeks, possibly months, of planning, tracking, and coordination. Ukrainian intelligence had been watching the movement of Russian troops closely. Satellite data, drone surveillance, and signals interception gave them a clear picture. A large group of Russian armored vehicles was gathering near a key frontline road. These vehicles were preparing to rotate in for an assault or to reinforce existing positions. But they weren't hiding well. Through Western satellite support, signals from NATO reconnaissance flights, and even data from civilian sources, Ukraine had everything they needed: exact coordinates, troop patterns, vehicle types, and timing. Once the target was confirmed, Ukraine's military intelligence, known as the GUR, stepped in to coordinate. Working alongside drone units and long-range artillery teams, they built a plan that involved multiple layers: fast, quiet drone surveillance, frontline special forces, and devastating long-range firepower. Everything had to be timed perfectly. One mistake, and the Russian column could scatter, or worse, strike back. But Ukraine wasn't rushing this. They waited for the right moment: early morning, low visibility, and a time when Russian soldiers were least alert. Behind the scenes, communication between Ukrainian units was fast, encrypted, and constantly updating. Real-time video from drones was being watched by commanders in underground bunkers. Orders were being relayed to artillery teams and drone pilots who were already in position. By the time Russian forces started moving into the zone, the entire battlefield was under watch. Every tank, every truck, every soldier, marked, tracked, and waiting. Ukraine wasn't preparing for a regular fight. They were preparing for a clean, fast, and unstoppable strike. And when the clock hit 4:17 a.m., the plan went into motion. The attack, minute-by-minute breakdown, 4:30 to 8:30. 4 a.m. Above the tree line, small Ukrainian drones begin to lift off, almost silently. They're flying low, staying under radar. Some are surveillance drones, others are armed. Some are simple FPV drones carrying explosive charges, cheap, fast, and deadly. They spread out across the sky, waiting for the signal. 4:10 a.m., Ukrainian electronic warfare teams start jamming Russian communications. Radios go silent. GPS signals are scrambled. Inside the Russian convoy, confusion begins. Soldiers think it's just a temporary glitch. They don't realize they're already being hunted. 4:17 a.m. The first FPV drone dives in and hits a lead tank. It explodes instantly. Moments later, more drones come from different angles, slamming into fuel trucks, supply vehicles, and troop carriers. The convoy is trapped in a narrow zone with no cover and no time to react. 4:20 a.m. Now the big guns come in. A salvo of HIMARS rockets, fired from miles away, rains down on the rear of the convoy. These aren't random shots. Each one is guided by GPS and drone intel. The command vehicles at the back are hit first, cutting off leadership and coordination. 4:23 a.m. More FPV drones hit the center of the convoy. Soldiers trying to flee are chased down by loitering drones. Small, quiet, deadly. Some take shelter in nearby buildings, but they're already marked. Drones follow them in. 4:27 a.m. A second wave of artillery hits. This time it's cluster munitions, designed to take out soft targets like infantry and unarmored vehicles. Smoke rises, flames spread, and the convoy is in complete chaos. No backup, no support. By 4:29 a.m., it's over. The entire operation lasted less than 15 minutes. At least 40 vehicles were hit. Dozens of Russian soldiers were killed, wounded, or captured in the aftermath. Most never even saw what was coming. What made this attack so terrifying wasn't just the speed, it was the precision. Every move was part of a larger plan. Drones were not just tools. They were eyes, weapons, and guidance systems all at once. This wasn't the work of a large air force or massive bombing campaign. It was a small, coordinated strike, built around technology, speed, and real-time intelligence. Ukraine didn't just stop a Russian advance that morning, they wiped it out and showed the world what modern asymmetric warfare looks like, the tech and tactics behind the blitz. So how did Ukraine manage to hit so hard, so fast, and with almost zero warning? The answer is in the tools they used and how they used them together. This wasn't just about drones or rockets. It was about coordination, timing, and smart tactics. First, let's talk about FPV drones. These are first-person view drones controlled like a video game. Pilots use a headset to see exactly what the drone sees, and they're deadly. Each one can carry a shaped explosive that's strong enough to destroy a tank if it hits in the right spot. They're small, fast, and cost just a few $100s, way cheaper than any missile or artillery shell. Then you have loitering munitions. These are also known as kamikaze drones. Once launched, they fly around for minutes, or even hours, until they lock onto a target. When they find one, they dive straight in and explode. Ukraine has used models like the Switchblade and also their own homemade versions. They're perfect for hitting soldiers hiding in trenches or buildings after the first strike. Next, there's HIMARS. These are long-range rocket systems supplied by the US. Each rocket is GPS guided, meaning it hits exactly where it's aimed. Ukraine used them in this attack to hit the back of the Russian convoy, taking out command vehicles and cutting off leadership within seconds. But the real game changer was how all of these systems were connected. Ukrainian drone pilots, artillery units, and special forces were working together using live video feeds and secure communication. Intel came in from multiple sources, drones, satellites, and observers on the ground, and it was shared in real time. That's what made the attack feel so fast and so smart. Even Starlink, the satellite internet system, played a big role. It allowed troops in the field to stay connected, even in areas with no signal. That meant drone pilots could operate from farther away, and commanders could update targeting as the situation changed. This operation wasn't just about firepower. It was about speed, accuracy, and control. Every move was calculated, every second mattered, and most importantly, it showed the world that you don't need a massive army to win battles anymore. You just need the right tech, the right people, and the right moment. Russian response and fallout. After the dust settled, Russian forces were left stunned. In just a few minutes, one of their armored units had been wiped off the map without a single warning shot. No air support arrived, no reinforcements came. And by the time Russian commanders realized what had happened, it was already too late. The first signs of panic came from Russian military bloggers. On Telegram and other social media channels, they posted shaky videos and photos of destroyed vehicles, burned out tanks, and soldiers wandering through smoking wreckage. Some even admitted openly, this was a disaster. Not just a tactical loss, but a complete breakdown in planning, communication, and defense. Russian state media stayed quiet at first, but behind the scenes, commanders were scrambling. Reports suggest that local officers were either removed or reassigned. Blame was passed up the chain, and just days after the strike, Russia began moving more air defense systems closer to the front lines, trying to stop the same thing from happening again. But here's the problem. These kinds of blitz attacks don't need weeks of preparation or large forces. Ukraine is now proving it can strike fast, hit hard, and disappear before Russia can even respond. And with drones being made inside Ukraine, and with more advanced Western support, it's getting harder for Russia to predict where the next strike will land. This attack didn't just destroy vehicles. It exposed serious gaps in Russia's ability to protect its troops from modern warfare. Poor communication, slow reaction times, and outdated tactics are turning Russian units into easy targets. And the real question now is, can they adapt? Or will more strikes like this one become the new normal? Strategic implications. This wasn't just a win on the battlefield. It was a message. For Ukraine, this strike was proof that it still has the ability to carry out fast, precise, and high-impact operations, even as the war drags on and resources are stretched thin. It shows that modern warfare isn't always about who has more troops or tanks. It's about speed, technology, and smart decision-making. For Ukrainian soldiers and civilians, this attack was a morale booster. After months of tough fighting, slow progress, and missile attacks from Russia, this kind of success reminds them and the world that Ukraine is still capable of fighting back in powerful and unexpected ways. For Russia, it was a wake-up call. It showed that armored columns and traditional ground tactics are no longer safe. Even behind the front lines, there's no guarantee of protection. Every move can be watched, every convoy can be targeted. And for NATO and Ukraine's Western allies, this attack may influence how support is given in the future. These kinds of results, fast, effective, and low cost, make a strong case for sending more advanced drones, precision weapons, and real-time intelligence tools. More importantly, it puts pressure on the international community to stay engaged. Because if Ukraine can continue to pull off operations like this, with the right support, it could shift the balance in this war again. The bigger message is clear. The battlefield is changing, and the side that adapts faster, the side that learns how to fight smarter, has the real advantage. Closing thoughts and call to action. In under 15 minutes, Ukraine didn't just destroy a Russian unit, it changed the conversation. This Dawn Blitz was more than a military victory. It was a demonstration of what's possible when intelligence, precision, and timing come together. It showed the world that even in a war full of heavy weapons and massive destruction, the smarter, faster force can still win the day. Russia's weaknesses were laid bare: slow response, outdated tactics, and vulnerable positions. Ukraine took advantage of that with incredible speed and precision. But this isn't just about one battle. It's a preview of where this war is heading. Smaller, smarter, faster operations that strike deep and disappear before the enemy can react. So what happens now? Can Russia adapt to these new tactics? Will Ukraine launch more strikes like this in other regions? And how will Western countries respond after seeing how effective this type of warfare can be? We'll be following it all and breaking it down for you right here. If you found this report helpful, hit the like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to Global Defense Watch for weekly updates on military strategy, frontline analysis, and global conflict insights. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next one.